already met, I am Jeana Roth, and I will be leading the Get Wise track this weekend. I am a licensed counselor working in Missouri, and as of 2 weeks ago, officially Illinois as well. I am fully licensed there as well. It is a lot of hoops, so thank you. I appreciate that. You may not know, okay, so we've talked a little bit about nons, right? So I am a non. I did not come out of Christian Science, but I have walked alongside many of you for many years, and it's been a privilege to do that. But while you might not know I'm a non, I have been through spiritual abuse, but in different circles, in evangelical circles. So when Katie asked me to share about forgiveness, I really didn't want to. I've had to wrestle with that too, a lot. And if you are having any trouble with that, I empathize. And I've been trying to balance that push to forgive, what are our reasons to forgive, along with what is trauma-informed practice. And so I do empathize with you. I did do a deep dive into the research over the past year, trying to prove why I shouldn't be here doing this. And what I found from this, the psychological research is actually it supports what we're here for, and that's to talk about forgiveness. So it actually does have positive benefit on relational, spiritual, emotional, even physical health. So it's something to keep in mind just from a psychological perspective. I think it's helpful to think of spiritual abuse as trauma and to think of trauma as a wound. So I know that we're here coming out of Christian Science, and wound care might not be the thing you're best at, but anybody tell me what this is? First aid kit. Awesome. So whether it's the red box, the size of it, the big white plus on it, this is actually a working first aid kit. So, and I am trained in first aid. If you need it while you're here, come find me. It's already been used a couple times by the tech guys. So glad to be of service with that. But using a wound as a metaphor, I think there are three really helpful things we can take from that metaphor, and we can learn about from first aid. The first thing is triage. From the moment you step foot into an emergency room or a urgent care or an ED department, you are being assessed. You are being assessed to see if you're bleeding. You're being assessed to see if you have a bone sticking out where it shouldn't be sticking out. You're being assessed how you walk, whether you have what your disposition is, what your face looks like. All those things, you are being assessed from the moment you walk in. And that's what we call triage. So somebody is doing the job of assessing how severe your injury is, okay? So if there is a simple scratch, that's something I might be able to take care of with this, right? I've got Band-Aids, I've got some, antiseptics, ointments, stuff like that. If it's a deeper wound, if it's bleeding a lot, if it goes all the way to the bone, I'm not going to handle it with this. We're going to take you to urgent care. We're going to call an ambulance. We're going to do something that's a higher level of care because that's beyond the scope of what we can do. And the same is true when we think about forgiveness. It's important that we start the forgiveness process, we understand the nature and the severity of the wound that we're dealing with. If we choose to ignore the wound and pretend it isn't there, we run the risk of that infection spreading throughout our bodies. A big part of triage is assessing the severity and then directing the patient towards the appropriate care. You may find at any point in your recovery journey that you need the help of a recovery professional, whether that's counseling or coaching or pastoral care or one of the Get Wise programs. I'll give you a little plug there, Katie. I'd encourage you to seek out an appropriate aid to help you understand the wound and to work with you to develop an individualized plan for recovery. Stay curious with yourself and lean into any discomfort you might feel this weekend or in general. That means you're actually acknowledging that the wound is real. The second thing we can learn from first aid is the idea of keeping it clean. My mom is a nurse, and growing up, I don't know if any of you guys can empathize with this, we doused all of our cuts and scrapes with either hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol. Anybody? It hurts. It hurts a lot. I know. It wasn't real. It was real. It still was real. Yeah. Rub salt in a wound. That's right. So did you know that that's actually not the current practice for wound care? So we recommend now saline or just simple soap and water. So You didn't know that you were going to get a first aid lesson tonight, but you're also getting that. And so I'm here for everybody, regardless of why you're here. We want to create an environment, though, that is conducive to healing. We want to get the dirt out of the wound. With forgiveness, I like to think of this as honoring the grieving process. Whether it's sadness, anger, relief, or any of the emotions you might experience with grief, we have to take the time to clean out the dirt and make sure the environment is as healthy as possible. Some wounds need air and some need to be covered. Grief and anger can sting just like cleaning a wound. Even if you're using soap and water, it can still sting. But there are important processes here that we need to create space for. It helps propel the healing process and keep the site from further infection. The third thing that we can learn from first aid is the idea of time. Wounds take time to heal. This is where we can often experience a secondary spiritual abuse in the form of coercion to forgive quickly. Okay? So sometimes that insinuates that we are not good Christians if we don't forgive completely right away. And I just want to back that up a little bit. One of the things I work with my clients on is to reframe that as be in the forgiveness process. Right? It is a process, and it's okay if it's not complete yet. It's okay. For the deepest wounds, we sometimes prevent that quick scabbing over because that can actually keep infection inside. We want the wound to heal from the inside out, and to do that, we might pack the wound or somehow slow that down to keep that from scabbing over. The same is true of forgiveness. Any shortcut in the forgiveness process will likely set you back in terms of the time you're going to need to heal. For that reason, we do reframe it as be in the forgiveness process. It is a process. Rest when you need to rest. Change the bandage when you need to change the bandage. Know that a wound takes time to heal, and even once the wound heals completely, you still might have some physical therapy or some other sort of rehabilitation to get back to your optimal functioning. Know that the process matters way more than the end result, and just try to stay in the process if you can. Believe me, I know that asking a group of former Christian Scientists to engage with me on a topic of first aid is a double ask. So thank you for hanging with me. I'm happy to answer any questions if anything that didn't make sense. Making the abstract concrete is really important. And so what I want to do is actually issue you all a challenge as well. If you can think of other ways that this process of healing and recovering from leaving Christian Science is like wound care this weekend, I would love for you to write me a quick note or to catch me at a mealtime and just let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know how you're processing that. And the same is true for those of you streaming. You can email me at jeana@revisioncc.com. That's JEANA, you have to spell it right, at revisioncc.com. So I would love to keep that conversation going. Thank you so much, and looking forward to the Get Wise track this weekend.